Today's show, how to master your day. Week into the new year. Some people are still riding steady with the New Year's resolutions. Some people already fell off. Been there, done that. Nobody's unique to coming up short. Today is going to be a one of one guide to how to master your day. In my experience, when you're always rushing or you're not intentional with your time, your activities, and even who you communicate with, throughout your day, you come up short. That's something we should say back in the day. Coming up short. You got to be intentional. And what that means is, I like to put it this way: I can't afford to have a bad day. Sort of like you can't afford to, eat out every day. What you can't afford, you can't afford. Like I don't have it. So that has to be the mindset. We can't afford to have a bad day. Today is all we got. In layman's terms, make it a good day. The attention has to start with, what am I going to spend time on today? I don't like to go outside unless I got 2, 3 things to do. Be it work, be it exercise, be it running a few errands, right? Getting the kids situated. If you plan your day accordingly, it's only 24 hours as we know it in the day. How do we make the time allotted or the time allowed to perform said activities work for us? It's the intention. Start your day off as early as possible. You ever wonder how some old timers, like my grandma, rest in peace, they said she woke up 3 o'clock in the morning without an alarm? That was something, her body was in a rhythm. It was programmed. Now we got these devices. You got the alarm clock. I don't know about you, but that alarm on this phone is somewhat violent. It burns. It burns you. You can't have that thing ring and not move, right? Set your intentions to wake up early. The power in waking up early is whether you catch on immediately or it takes a little time to get used to. The power of getting up early is you're up while the world is sleeping for the most part. I remember years back when Floyd Money Mayweather, he used to train at night, right? And he did all his sparring and his runs, and he would train at night. And he said the trick to it was his opponent is actually sleeping, so he's training when his opponent is sleeping. That gave him an edge. Okay, he took that, and even though they was going to be fighting the fight at that around that time where his opponent is actually sleeping. And little tricks, you can call it a trick, that is intentional, right? And that's what I mean by, you have to be intentional with your time. So on the wake up, if the first thing I do is I grab my social media feed and I start getting the news of the day and what happened last night, it's going to trigger an emotional reaction or a response, whether you hit the like, whether you hit the heart, whether you hit the emoji bar, right? You're reacting and you're internalizing what the world is doing, what the outside world is doing on off the feed, and you're going to internalize that, and you're going to create your day with it. It's become a norm. It's hard to say the. It's hard to. It's becoming hard to not have a social media presence, especially in the days technology. You get your news there. You don't have to really wait to see the the channel 6 or anything like that, and it's just real time. It's real fast, but the intention behind what you see on that feed uh is dark. You don't know what it is. You don't know why the algorithm is set up to show you whatever it is that you show you that you're being shown. Okay, when we start our day off on let's say on a positive inspired, it's the new year, it's the you got your planned out. You said, I'm going to the fitness club, and after that I got my healthy meal. I'm inspired to do so. I went to church last night, and you prayed and things like that, right? And so your intention was at a higher vibration. You had the excitement. It was excitement behind it. So the effort in which you exhausted to prepare you for the next day was inspired. The flip side is this: as we're coming down off of that dopamine fix, off that fix of inspiration, off the motivational instruction, right, or the direction, we fall into a loop, or we come back down to what the reality is. The reality is that in which we are manifesting out from inward. Okay, so again, if I'm sitting down and I'm eating, it's so easy to pick up this device, this phone, and start looking at TV. That's what it was made for. Let's just call it a TV. Let's call it a computer. Let's call it a planner. Let's call it all in one. It's a thing, right? Now you're being pulled all over the place through the feed and what it is. I don't have this. I was looking at a read. It was the stats on how many times we look at our phones during the day and how much time is consumed looking at social media. If you can master, let's just call it master. If you can control where your time goes, where you put your attention to, you're taking back control of your reality. And the reality, for me, is not the reality of you. Give you an example. Who likes okra? Okay, if I go to the store and I go and grab some okra, I was introduced with okra through my mom. My grandmom and my dad. I love it. That's my thing. Okra it's a slimy fruit. You can eat it alone. I like to chop it up and put it in with vegetables. You cook it. It's nutritious. It's a superfood, right? And I enjoy it. It's nothing, when I eat it, it does something for me, right? It does something to me, right? Now, you may not like the texture of it. You may not like the taste of it. You may not like anything about the way it looks, or you might not like fruit or vegetables at all, right? In we have two different realities in the same food. So on one hand, I might be hungry and I see that and I'm like, oh man, I'm a meal. You may see that and be like, ew. See the difference? My reality is not your reality. Plain put. So what I eat doesn't affect you, right? Whether you like it or not. It's not going to move your taste palette. Your taste buds. It's not going to, it's not going to make you or break you what it is, what it is that I consume. I say that to say how we respond to, good news of someone else, or how we respond of misfortune of someone else, right? We internalize it. We internalize that in which we lay eyes on, what we give attention to. You understand? So the algorithm is automatically set, is whereas though if you're on your, I don't want to say your best behavior, but you have your best intent, to wake up early and start your day off on the right foot, waking up on the right side of the bed, getting started with your morning jog, smoothie, fitness club, all before you get your day's work going. But before, you wasn't militant about turning on this here device, and before you know it, you're scrolling and you see all the bad news about the world. Why was it shown to you? Doesn't mean that it was shown to me. We all may actually be seeing similar things, but the algorithm is different between different individuals. See, we shape our reality. We like different things. Your time feed is not the same as my time feed. So when I Google search something, it's going to give me different something. It's going to show me different, show something different to me than it's going to show for you. And that's the same as how I look at the world versus how you look at the world. Okay, so let's try to come together and really master ourselves, and we can do this together by not tricking ourselves, but implementing certain things that we can do, that we do have control of, and we can implement it daily by small micro tasks. And that brings me to my next point: how to master your day, to have a good day. We can't afford to have bad days. This is all the days that we got. Yesterday is done. Tomorrow will always be now. And for the most part, what shapes our day is how we internalize the vibration in which we're moving throughout our day, or throughout our day with. If it's raining outside and it's Monday, what makes Mondays not as good as Tuesday? What makes the rain any different than a sunny day? But yet, someone would say to you, "Oh, it's gonna be one of those days. Oh, this rainy. It's nasty out." Now, you can't control the way that someone else views the world, but you definitely control your mood about what you come in contact throughout your day. I would rather a rainy day. I would rather a Monday than no day at all. And that's on the wake up. Doesn't mean that, the bills aren't due. It doesn't mean that, you didn't stump your toe on the side of the bed. It doesn't mean that your phone got cut off because you forgot to pay the bill. It doesn't mean that you wasn't going to run out of gas. It doesn't mean that you wasn't having you didn't have to get that right up for missing work that day, or calling out, or you got to make up that assignment at school that you didn't do. Doesn't mean that. But how do you internalize? How do you internalize it with intention? Say, that's not going to spoil my day, because guess what? I have an opportunity to learn from that situation. Maybe stop moving so fast, or stop getting, scrolling on the phone so late, where I can wake up early and get myself together, where I'm not rushing, where I'm not, where I don't have to stub my toe on the side of the bed, where I don't have to, have to miss work because, my car wasn't, operating correctly, where I could have spent a little more time with my studies because I created time, or I was intentional with the time I was going to spend to study for that. You understand? Just little things that we can turn into habits to make it work for us. Instead of just flowing, or I like to call it freestyling. Instead of just freestyling around and just going with the current, just going with the current. Nothing wrong with just having taken time to sit still and really kind of zone out and be say how can I upgrade this situation. I'm sitting here, I'm not really in the best of spirits today. I don't feel as motivated today as I did last week. What changed? What about it? What about myself changed? Okay, I remember the first couple days, off the last day at church, I was doing this in the morning. I stopped doing it. So why don't I pick up where I left off and implement that again? Implement small wins and turn them into habits. That's what we're here to do. Self-improvement. When you care about yourself and you take care of yourself, it shows when someone is it shows if you pay attention, if you just pay attention to your environment and surroundings. The person rushing around, when we're rushing, we're not really in the best of mood because it's a little bit chaotic. The ones that's kind of taking their time and moving about, kind of owning their time, they're a little, so to speak, right? They're a little ahead. They're a little sharper. They're more aware, right? Than when we're not intentional with what we're doing. You understand? And it starts with self. If we're all cluttered inside, right? If we're thinking about too much, if we're trying to do too much, everything can't go. Some things you gotta let go of, especially if it's not working for your benefit. We have to eliminate the things that's not beneficial to us to improve our day. And by improving, just a little bit, the goal is to get 1% better at daily, right? If we can eliminate little things to improve our daily, how we go about life daily, that has, and man, I don't even immeasurable edge over time. Because that's what our quality of life is, our days. Think about the nonsense conversations that you may entertain. What is it that we're even exchanging? How does that? Sometimes you just have to let the thing die. You gotta let the conversation die if it's nothing to live in, and be intentional actually with your attention of a thing. Certain things, like when you see it, you just have to kind of scroll past it, because you can get lost. In my experience, you can get lost in scrolling. You like, next thing you look up, you say, "Oh man, where did time go?" You do that 365 days a year. That's a massive amount of time. This is the world we live in. So we have to be intentional to take some of that time back. With all that time, what could we have accomplished if we put forth that effort into something that was beneficial to us? Learning a skill, improving a certain platform, shooting a little more videos, learning a little bit more about editing, communicating with someone that that knows a little bit more, or if not a lot more than you know about anything, right? And sitting back brainstorming on how to create something different, right? It's to get active and become active. Be an active creator. Shout out Cousin E. Be an active listener. We don't know everything. I'm not sure I want to know everything. But to be intentional and to master our days, we have to we have to be in a mindset where we cannot afford to have bad days. That's the point. In case I can't afford to have a bad day. You understand? So we gotta make it a good one. That's all we got. I'm Drew. This is Fruition. I hope everybody has a truly wonderful, great everything. Peace.